Hi angels, this will be the chapter 13 of You Are My Heroes by Lavender Thoughts 21 on AO3, Night Terror. It was the second night that the boys were going to spend at Aizawa's house. The man had made certain that there were no exits unlocked, even latching the top chain of the front door. Aizawa wasn't sure which of the two boys instigated the first escape, but he was sure that the boys wouldn't be able to get out now. Even so, Aizawa couldn't help but toss and turn throughout the night. Over the past couple of years, these two were the only ones to cause a major problem. He fostered only one girl before, but he also had multiple temporary fosters, equally difficult to deal with, but not to the extent of going missing. Then, of course, there was the case with his husband. Hisashi is a reasonable man, cheer and all that, but the man was still human. Aizawa felt a hole in the pit of his stomach, because his husband could be really angry or worse, really sad. Sure, the tour had started today and maybe he's on stage right now, but he was still expecting a call from Aizawa. The fact that Hisashi didn't send any text after the call abruptly ended plagued the man's mind. Aizawa spent hours tossing and turning in his bed, trying to desperately sleep to have energy for tomorrow, but he felt wide awake. When he finally felt his mind drifting peacefully away to a nice peaceful rest, there was a sudden scream in the next room. The sound was ear-piercing even from a room away, and it made Aizawa's blood turn to ice in an instant. The man was out of his room and in theirs before he even realized he was on his feet. Flipping the switch on, Aizawa saw that it was Bakugo who was screaming, sitting up with eyes closed, tears streaming down his face, and straining his mouth as he opened it wide to scream out. The boy's screaming was one of deep fear. "Bakugo, what's wrong?" Aizawa asked, his eyes flickering to Midoriya, who was squeezing Bakugo in a hug with all his might. Izuku was also crying, but his eyes held more worry for his friend than fear. Bakugo's body shuddered as the boy's breath hitched fiercely for air. Another scream erupted from Katsuki's mouth, but this time it was interrupted by his own sharp cough. The blonde's eyes shot open and immediately started darting around the room, landing on Aizawa. The boy's breath hitched again as he let out another scream, louder than before, his face turning red. Aizawa's heart sank at the thought that maybe he was scaring Bakugo even more just by being in the same room. Aizawa's mind raced as he tried to think of a way to comfort him. As a stranger, Bakugo wouldn't want comfort from the man. Instead, he needed something familiar to ground himself and make him realize he was okay. Thankfully, Aizawa's thought process resulted in one possible solution. The man left the room and just as quickly returned, his hand holding something that would hopefully help. Izuku was still holding on to Bakugo as he screamed, and the green-haired boy looked like he was on the edge of a meltdown himself. "Here you go," Aizawa said loudly, making sure Katsuki could hear him. The man waved the All Might plush in front of Bakugo's sight, and the boy's eyes flickered with recognition. Izuku's arms loosened around Katsuki just for a second as the blonde reached out for the plush. Bakugo's hands wrapped around the plush as he held it against his chest like he was trying to push it right through his heart. Katsuki's breath kept shuddering as he tried to breathe between cries. A loud cry would escape his lips every now and then, but the worst of it was over. "You okay, sweetheart?" Aizawa asked after a couple minutes went by. Bakugo's breathing had slowed down and he wasn't screaming anymore. Still, tears kept rolling down his cheek and into Izuku's shirt as the green boy held tightly onto Katsuki. The blonde let out a whimper at the question, his eyes meeting Aizawa's, the look that screamed desperately for help. The man was kneeling on the floor next to the bed, mentally wishing that he could transfer some of Bakugo's fear into himself, so he could carry at least some of the burden. "And then no. Katsuki tried to talk, but got stuck repeating the word no, his breathing beginning to hitch again. To Aizawa's understanding, the blonde was trying to ask a question. "No one here, Kachan," Izuku spoke up as he felt Katsuki's panic breathing restarting. Aizawa didn't correct him. In whatever context those words meant, it was true for them. No one was here? The room went silent again as Bakugo calmed down. Izuku's hands loosened with time, his hands aching from applying pressure for a long while. "Katsuki," Aizawa spoke up again. The blonde looked up to the man, his eyes still holding some fear. Aizawa felt like he could throw up from the worry in his stomach, but kept a soft neutral face, a front to not scare Bakugo. The man held up Bakugo's hearing aids, and with silent permission, put them on for him. With Bakugo's attention on him now fully lucid, Aizawa wanted to tell the boy a comforting truth. "Katsuki, you are safe." Bakugo's eyes watered again as he let the words wash over him. Relief. The boy let out a deep breath as he collected himself, repeating the man's words in his head over and over again. "You are safe! You are safe here," Aizawa said again. Then he looked at Midoriya, who was holding in tears of his own, mostly from being overwhelmed. "You two are safe." Safe, Bakugo repeated the word out loud as if to satisfy his mind. They sat in silence for a while as Bakugo took his time to process the emotion of relief that came from the man's words. Once he was calm, he gave Izuku a soft shove, signaling that he didn't want to be held anymore. "You okay now, Kachan?" Izuku asked as he let go of the blonde, his eyes begging Katsuki for the truth. Bakugo only nodded to answer, slowly uncurling his arms from his chest to reveal the All Might plush. Bakugo looked up at Aizawa, his eyes showing mostly shame but also new fear. "What is it, sweetheart?" Aizawa questioned softly, hoping to seem less threatening to the small kid in front of him. Bakugo lifted the sheets off himself to reveal a wet spot on his pajama pants. Thankfully, it was mostly contained on himself rather than the bed around him. Izuku scrunched up his nose in understandable disgust, but didn't seem surprised by the sight. Bakugo huffed at Midoriya's face, but the blonde looked like he was mostly angry at himself. A blush appeared on the blonde's face as he began to get embarrassed. "It's okay, I'm not mad. Let's go get cleaned and changed." This is the end of chapter 13. I'll see you in chapter 14. Have a good day, angels.